Welcome back, everyone. In today's episode, we're going to take an HO scale kit made by Model Power and turn it into this. So as you can see, I put a gray primer on my wall sections. And now I'm just sponging on different stone colors. And I am sort of experimenting with using two different sponges. I have a makeup sponge. You can buy this Walmart, Target. It's for applying makeup, and you can see it's pretty flat. I did tear a section off to make it a little rough, and then I am just using different colors of different shades of gray, some light tan, a light brown, and I'm just sponging over the wall. First starting with the flat one. Then we'll move on to a sponge that has a little bit more texture to it. So sorry, my palette's kind of a mess, but I'm just dipping it in the random colors and then lightly sponging it on. And trying to get all of the different colors to show so that it has a lot of different random stone colors in it. Different shades. It just gives it a little bit more detail. Now with this sponge, I'm focusing mostly on the gray, using slate gray. This sponge has a lot more texture, so it's really kind of just making it splotchy on it. Let me show you up close. And then after these dry, I am going to put a black wash that'll go in all of the cracks. Now that all the sponging is done, we're going to go in and paint some individual stones. And again, just to sort of recap, I used slate gray, neutral gray, Mississippi mud, pale gray, and light taupe. Oh, and I also used light buttermilk. So again, I just randomly was dipping it in all the colors, sort of mixing it in the center, then applying it with the makeup sponge first, then going with the lighter grays I used this sponge, which is a grout sponge. It's used for cleaning grout off of tile, and just lightly dab that on. And just keep playing around with it until you get it to the point where you're happy with it. And they do look light now, but we're going to, after we paint some individual stones, we will put a black wash, a real thin black wash over the walls. So I'm mostly using the Mississippi mud, a little bit of the light taupe, so we're just randomly painting some individual stones. And we may want to go in with just some gray. We'll lighten it with a little bit of the buttermilk. And you don't have to do it neat by any means. You can just sort of dab it on. Dab some of the colors onto the other bricks. We're just trying to create a variation in it. We definitely don't want to have a pattern showing. You can mix whatever colors you want. You could go with more of a tan stone, more gray. The key is to give it texture, lots of texture, and make it very random. So I will show you up close what we've got so far. So as you can see, there's a lot of texture and a lot of variation in the colors. So next, we're going to make a wash using black. We're going to use very little. And we're just going to test it. And I feel like I should switch to a bigger brush. Okay, now we'll let these sit and dry. As you can see, that black really shows off the stone. And then after these dry, then we will do a little bit of dry brushing and then come in with some pastel chalks. I wanted to quick show you as the water evaporates, it's not so defined and actually looks a little bit more natural. If you do want it to have nice black lines in between the stones, you can definitely go over it again. You can go over it as many times as you want. to get the look that you're happy with. So here's our wall so far. And I actually put 2 more washes of black over the wall. So that was a total of 3, and I probably should have stopped at 2, but that's okay. That's how it goes. Now we're going to dry brush some gray. Now, get a paper towel. Let me move this so you can see. So I'm getting most of the paint off of the brush, and I'm using a number 6 brush. So we're just going over it very lightly. I actually don't want to put too much on here. After this dries, the next step will be to put some pastel chalks on it and weather it. Hopefully you can see a little better. Okay, I'll dry brush these and then we'll get out some pastel chalks. So I wanted to show you quick that I painted the stone above the windows and door, and I made this stone underneath the corrugated metal. And then I painted this gray. I added water to the gray when I brushed it on to give it sort of a uneven look. I didn't want it just to be a solid gray. For the stone, I mixed camel color, which you could use desert sand or some type of tan color, and then slate gray. I mixed those together, and it kind of gave me an aged concrete look, and I just painted those. And then up here, that is just straight slate gray. Next, I'm going to add some rust on the metal here. So I got the metal painted and got the walls glued together. You can see I added a wood piece of trim. The ends I cut because we are going to put a wood structure on the top. What else? I had to add some little pieces sorry, just cleaning up some glue. I'll show you. Had to add a piece there and a piece there on all four corners. And then I'll paint all of this to match and add a little texture down at the bottom, so that'll look nice. Oh, and I did want to show you this piece. I added texture with my X-Acto blade. Well, first I primed this piece. I primed all of the pieces. Then I scraped it, adding wood texture. I then painted it to look like wood. I then took a sponge with green paint, and I'm using light avocado, and sponged over it. Same with the 3 windows here. So just wanted to show you quick that I did get those corners painted. You could fill those corners with plastic, and they also make a putty for plastic, and you could fill the edges and texture it so it matched. But I don't build plastic kits that often, so I think this is going to be fine. So I cut my walls for the structure that will go on top. And first I braced the back and then painted the walls a solid brown. I then, with a straight blade, lifted some of the boards. Then I did a thin wash of, let's see, raw umber and neutral gray, and made it pretty thin. Added a bunch of water to it and brushed over all of the walls. Next, I will paint all of my windows and the trim, and then assemble the walls. So I've got the top part of the structure done. Well, the walls anyways. I still have to do the roof. And I've decided to make this a company that makes spark plugs, because I found this old sign and decided to put it on. The color of the sign was kind of a bluish green, so I tried to match the windows and the trim to the sign a little bit. Then I also brushed on a little bit of that color onto the trim here, and then did some dry brushing of that color on the door. So this is the back side. So here's where we're at so far. And I'll give you a closer look at this. So for the vents, sorry, pardon my reach. This is the roof that comes with the kit. And I wanted to have more of a peak on it. So all I did was I cut the vents off of here and put them on there. And same with the little smokestack. The pipe is from rustyrail.com. The fan vent is from railroadkits.com. And the roof is just black construction paper that I spray painted gray. Next, I am going to build a small structure that fits on this side. And it'll have a slanted roof that comes down maybe from this point. And it'll be almost square with a slanted roof. And then I'm going to have a tall smokestack coming up out of it. So the structure on the side will be made out of cardboard. And the pipe, the only thing I have available right here is a wooden dowel. So that's what I'm going to use for it. So here's the little structure, and the entire thing is just made out of cardboard. I actually used a popcorn box. I put some bracing in it. And then the giant smokestack is just a wooden dowel. I wish I would have had a plastic tube, but this will do fine. I'll maybe carve a little bit out with my Dremel tool and paint it black, and it'll look fine. And then the bands are made from painter's tape. And they're about 1/8 inch thick. And then what I'll do is I'll run wires actually to the side of the building so that it looks like it's supporting it. So here's our smokestack so far. And I simply painted it with raw umber first, and then with a sponge lightly put on some burnt sienna. Then the bands are painted with straight burnt sienna. Now I'm going to paint this flat black because I want it to look like tar paper, and then we're going to put some strips of wood on it, and then our roof will get covered in corrugated metal. So I spray painted the little structure flat black because I want it to look like it's covered in tar paper. Now I'm just going to use a dark brown and a dark gray So I finished the little structure. And next I'll do the roof that goes on it. And I'm going to cover this in corrugated metal. So here's a quick look at it all put together. Next, I'm going to use some copper wire and put some little tension rods going from the bands to the building. And I'll do that on both sides. Made a little bit more progress. Getting close to being finished. I have to make 2 doors to go there, and then I have to create some signs for the actual business. I know that it's going to be a place that makes spark plugs, so I just have to come up with a name and create a couple signs. So the model is all complete. I added some doors, and those are corrugated paper from kcworkshop.com. I made a sign in the computer. The structure is named after my best friend in high school, who was a big car freak. The dust collector there on the side is from rustyrail.com. Let me zoom out so that maybe you can see the entire structure. No, not my new building. Aha! I hope you enjoyed today's video. I really wanted to show you that to make a nice model, you don't have to spend a lot of money. You can start with plastic kits and add to it. You can kit bash. You can scratch build. Foscale Models sells clapboard siding. You can buy sheets of it to cut your own wall sections. You can also buy it from Northeastern Scale Lumber. They sell all different sizes of strip wood and different types of sheets of clapboard, beadboard. Foscale Models also sells pre-cut wall sections. And then you just also buy the windows and put them in. So scratch building really isn't as hard as you may think. So I hope this episode has inspired you to get creative and try some kit bashing and some scratch building. Well, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel, and be sure to click on that bell up in the corner to be notified when I upload more videos. Well, thanks for watching, and until next time, happy modeling, everyone.